I'm Marshall Shannon with Ministry Design Concepts, and today Ministry Design Training is providing this webinar on master planning. Today we're going to look at just the basics of master planning. Any building project that a church carries out is normally going to have 5 phases: preparation, planning, design, construction, and facility management. In our continuing education for ministry leaders, we want you to learn the information about master planning, both the questions that we're going to answer today about the basics, and then the planning part that is there on your screen, and then the design part of the master planning part of the process, of the design process. We want you to learn this information ahead of those that you're going to be training and equipping to carry this out: your building committee, your subcommittees if you have them, and any work groups that are assisting your subcommittees. So it is important that as we go through this that we answer some basic questions to help you get your project started correctly as you consider building. In this chart, I wanted to show you the importance of preparing well and planning well. If you're at the front end of your project in the preparation and planning stages, you have full control of the decisions that you're making: your money, who's going to work for you in-house and industry professionals, what kind of delivery system you might select to use, so forth and so on. But as you go through the preparation and you plan and make decisions, at some point in this you're going to start releasing control of your decisions into the hands of those who are going to carry it out. So it does us well if we can plan well so you can spend wisely. Also, you're not spending a whole lot of money. You have control of your decisions and control of your money, and as you get to a certain point in the timeline, you're going to start giving away money, releasing your money and releasing control of your money. So what do we want to do? We want to prepare the ministry leaders ahead of time first, so that you can adequately, successfully lead your ministry through your building program. So first off, what is a master plan? A master plan are drawings that depict the full plan development of your property. They are drawings that focus on your next phase. They are documents that describe the full plan development of your property. Let me give you some visual aids with this. Before you is a master plan done by some friends of mine. The bottom right side, you'll see my cursor is the mouse. You'll see the cursor. This is a site plan that is color charted. You can see there the future expansion and future worship. You've got education and worship, and then phase 1. And so they're showing you where everything is going to go on the property. And as you can see, it's a fully developed piece of ground with parking, ball fields, detention pond, and buildings, sidewalks, and landscaping, and the whole thing. Then at the top is an exterior artist rendering, a computerized rendering of what the building is going to look like on the property. And then to the left here is an interior shot, computer generated, as to what it is going to look like when it is ready to go. This is what I mean as we talk about showing plans. Then there is involved in this often a floor plan, a very simple floor plan. Another project here that I was involved in that shows what is the floor plan going to look like. And then third is an elevation, the outside view from the side and the back, or the front and the side, to give you some idea of what master planning we're talking about. And so why do a master plan? Well, there are a number of things that can help you do. First of all is to prioritize your ministry needs. It is a tough thing to do, but the leadership has to decide what's most important, second most important, third, and fourth. Because usually what happens, the common normal thing, is that your wants and your wishes outweigh or outspend what your wallet can afford. And so you have to prioritize your ministry needs by what is mission critical, what is necessary and critical to the advancement of your calling as a church. and you want to prioritize your ministry needs. What you build first, second, third, and fourth over the years on your existing property will be determined by your priorities. Second, it can help you to coordinate your facility plans with your ministry plans. So if you've got a ministry design where you have developed a strategic plan for carrying out the mission of your church in hopes that you'll reach or fulfill the vision that God has for your ministry, you want to tie the building plans, the facility plans, your site plan, your campus with its building and grounds, you want to coordinate that together so that your ministry and design and plans dictate what you're going to do on your property. The third thing it will help you do is maximize the long-range use of your property. If you want to plan well, then you master plan to help you see where you would put the next phase, but also phase 2, 3, and 4, and you do that so you can see and work with the options of maximizing the square footage of the space. If you've got 10 acres, you want to maximize the most effective and efficient way to develop that property with your parking, facilities, ball fields, and so forth. The next thing it can do for you is, why would you want to do a master plan? Well, it can help you locate your future buildings, your outdoor activity areas, your ponds that you're required to have, your street entrances and exits, parking, and a host of other things. You're going to be forced to work those things out, to do the hard work to help you locate them on your property. It also helps you answer fundamental questions about space reuse, renovation, or moving to new property. Often a church will go through their master planning exercise with their design team, and it will help them determine what space they currently have that they need to repurpose so they can reuse it in a different way, what they might need to renovate along with adding the next phase, or that this property does not have enough bandwidth to fulfill the vision of the church. What I mean by bandwidth is the capacity to hold so much and the capability of letting you design it or fulfill it as you wish. So it doesn't have the capability and capacity to let you fulfill your vision as you carry out your mission on that piece of ground. It's going to help you answer those fundamental questions to know whether you need to renovate, repurpose a section, and use it in a different way, which may cause you to renovate it in a different way, or it's time to move to a new piece of property, or maybe you're going to have multi-site, where you'll have 2, 3, or 4 different locations, and you're worshiping one church in many locations. It can also help you to determine the financial feasibility by phases. As you look at phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you determine that if the Lord tarries and would permit you in your plan, as your church grows and you've projected the growth, that you're going to build this first phase in the next 12 months, and then 4 years after you finish that one, you would like to start the second phase, and 5 years after that, with your growth, you'd like to start that phase, and you break it into financial pieces so that you think you'll be able to afford them. It forces you to plan out the full development of your property. What you might build, where it would go, how much it would cost, what it might look like, how you're going to tie it all together so it looks like, as you finish the full development of your property down the road, it looks like you actually planned it that way. Continuing with why do a master plan? Well, it can help you provide plans for congregational buy-in. So you end up with that floor plan, elevation, artist rendering, a site plan, and maybe you're going to spend the money and take the time to do a computerized 3D video presentation with narration and music, a fly around of your building and a fly through of your building, and you're narrating it and explaining to your congregation, your community, local authorities, your banks or lenders that you're going to apply for a loan. As you do that, it helps bring about buy-in. People say, hey, I like this, I believe God's in it, and we want to be a part of this. Another thing it can help you do is provide plans to capital stewardship campaign. So if you're going to use a consultant or even in-house and you want to present to the church a master plan that shows them your long-range planning, but also with the next phase that you're asking them to pledge their finances to, time, talent, and treasures, that you use it for your capital campaign. Then it can help you provide plans for securing financing. Then it can provide plans for zoning presentations. In other words, to get permission to put that building there. And often we find that churches have to go to the local authorities, to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and appeal for rezoning. That's normal. It can also help you coordinate your aesthetics, how things look, the appearance of the buildings. It can help you coordinate traffic flow and building use. Now, think through with me. Someone is coming to your church. They're trying to find their way to your property. They turn into the entrance or one of the entrances to your property. They drive and find guest parking. They get out of the car, they see signage, and they perhaps are greeted by parking guest services in the parking lot, and it helps them walk into the appropriate part of your building to drop their kids off or attend Sunday school, small groups, a worship service, a major church-wide event or community-wide event. Whatever it is, it deals with traffic flow of cars and pedestrians. It can help you with congregational involvement and investment, congregational buy-in and ownership, research and development. It can cause us to stop and revisit our ministry design. It helps us dig into who we are as a church, where God has put us, what He has called us to do, how He has called us to do it. It's helped us consider our calling and our context and our code as a church. It's assisted us in considering how He would want us to create ways to reach people with the gospel and make disciples, to evangelize and disciple people, and to carry out our calling, how to train them to repeat the process. And so it can help us research and do development. It'll help you establish the bandwidth of your ministry, the full capacity and capability of your ministry to carry out its calling, the bandwidth of your campus. If your ministry has the ability to outgrow your campus, then you need to come to some conclusion about that and show it. But it will help you in this way to blend together or marry together your ministry and your campus's capabilities. It will help you refine your ministry design. The research and development spills over into the refining of your ministry design, your core values, to perhaps rediscover and revisit those, your mission, your vision, and your game plan, so that you would take and roll those into what does your future look like as you consider your ministry design. It will help you refine it, polish it, and to make it ready to go. You have to give this information to your design team, and this is gonna help you carry it out. It also can help you develop future growth projections for each existing ministry in your church. Because not every ministry within your church program or event or projects you're doing grows at the same rate necessarily. And so this will help you develop growth projections for each individual ministry in your church. It will help you know how to plan your master plan in the next phase that you're going to build. It can help you determine future ministry development. If you're going to start new ministries, your architect and design team need to understand what they are, what the growth projections are for them, and then your philosophy of ministry for that new ministry. How are you going to function so that they can design the form or shape of the building as a tool to help you carry out this new ministry. So it's not only your existing ministry that you need to project the growth for and explain how you do ministry, why you do ministry in your ministry design, but also any new one that you're looking to do in the future to carry out the vision that God has for your ministry. It also can help you provide a roadmap for the future development of your campus. And so you show the people, as we did, phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and how that blends together with your ministry and how it's put together and how it's designed. It can help you determine your next step, what you're going to build next, what's mission critical, what it's going to look like, how it's going to serve your mission and your congregation, how it's going to help you reach your community, and so forth and so on. Next, it helps you avoid costly mistakes that may hinder future development of your ministry and property. For years, myself included, when I was a senior pastor, we put buildings on property and thought, well, this looks good, without considering how we're going to develop the next project, phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, parking, detention, retention ponds, utilities, outdoor activities, recreation, and so forth and so on. When you don't consider all of those areas, you can make very costly mistakes where you put a building in the wrong place, and now it's going to cost you a lot of money, a lot of ministry or momentum to try and work around or through that problem. So it can help you avoid the costly mistakes that may hinder your future development of your ministry and property. Lastly, it's just good stewardship to care for those things that we're entrusted to. And our campuses, with its facilities and equipment and furnishings and everything that it has about it, it is good stewardship for us to do this. Physically, spiritually, people-wise, in all aspects, it's good stewardship. Next, let me answer the question, what is included in a master plan? Well, it should be included in a long-range site plan showing the full development of every cubic inch of your property. It should show the next phase floor plans. It should show the next phase elevations. It should show perhaps an artist rendering. You can hire an artist to do a computer generated or freehand with oil or chalk, watercolor, in some way to produce an artist rendering. And then something that's become available in the last 20 years is a computerized 3D video and narration. So imagine with me that you show in your church in your PowerPoint in front of the whole congregation, put it on your website, make it available through YouTube and so forth and so on as you promote it, that you're going to show them a video. And you click go, turn it on, and it comes and phases in this site plan, and then it turns into a live, almost really realistic presentation by computer, showing them as though you were flying around in a helicopter or a plane around your property, describing everything they're looking at the phases and walking them through it, showing them that, and then you phase out everything but the first phase in your existing building, and you fly them down through, and maybe take them through the front door of your foyer and lobby and gathering area with your welcome center, and maybe a third place with a coffee area, maybe a fireplace with sitting area with couches and chairs and stands, and you've got maybe some material over here and where your guest services are working away, and then you fly them through your children's ministry where the parents are dropping off their children, and maybe a teen area, and show them the restrooms and gathering areas throughout the building, and then fly them into the auditorium or your educational wing and so forth. You get the picture. Whatever your master plan looks like, and you've got music and narration going on, and you're showing them what the building is going to look like in real time there. So they're seeing it in 3D. It's a very helpful tool to show it to your congregation, those in your community, and the capital campaign, and for your lending purposes to show them what the banks are going to be investing their money in. And so this is what you're getting, and then you're going to have documentation that is going to back up the feasibility of what you're showing, so that you can show that you have done, and the industry professionals have done their homework to show a plan that has been honed and perfected and gives a clear vision and generates inspiration. It energizes and inspires, and it motivates people to invest themselves in it. It's a great tool that you do as a part of the preparation and planning, and the first part of your design phase is the master planning. Let me move from that and help you understand the documentation. It deals with programming, land and facility analysis, code analysis. Now, I say this, that this is done, and if you're going to master plan and spend everyone's time and all of your money and continue to build momentum, you want to give the architect correct programming with growth projections. You want to have the civil engineer and the architect and perhaps others do a full land and facility analysis. So you'll have surveys of your property, and you'll have soil samples testing. You may do perks of your land to tell what about the water table and so forth. And you've had environmental phase ones done. I mean, you've got all this research analysis and code analysis, and then cost estimates with budgeting to help you show them, yes, this is our dream, this is what we believe we ought to build, and it's within our capability financially. So this is just some of the documentation and work. In a following webinar, we're going to give you tools, make them available, and explain to you the tools that you can use in order to go through the preparation and planning and this master planning part of your design phase. So what is needed? Feasibility studies. And a feasibility study is showing you what's possible with to marry together your money and the bandwidth of your ministry and facilities. A feasibility study would consider church history and your future planning. It would look at your attendance, a summary of that, and your growth projections for each ministry in your church. It would also provide present and future space usage, both inside and out, in your buildings and on your grounds. It would do a space needs analysis. What ministry space do you need, both to enhance your existing ministries and to accommodate any new ministry that you're planning to do in this next phase, or in the second or third phase. Code review is a part of your feasibility studies. Parking analysis. You know, this is an area that can throw you off. So let me give this suggestion to you. Get reliable people to go count on Sunday when you are using your facility with the most people at any time during your week, and count the cars and the number of people on your campus, so you can get a car to rider, how many people are in a car ratio, because you need to give that to the architect. Here's why. For years, the international building codes required that an assembly building for a church have one parking space for every 4 seats in the worship area, in the auditorium, sanctuary, the worship space. But the reality is, people are not coming 4 people per car. They're coming 2.1 to 2.7 people per car. And you need to know that to do a parking analysis. The next part of the parking analysis, along with counting the people per car, is to look at what point as to the contextually the people in your community and the people in your congregation, when do people give up trying to find a parking space? You know, the 80% rule that was developed by an Italian economist developed the, excuse me, the 80-20 rule, and it applies to the parking, the foyers, the education space, administration space, fellowship space, and worship space. It involves to your hallways and everything else. And so your parking, when people drive in, have you noticed at what point do they say, hey, they didn't plan on us being here, there's no parking space for us, and they drive out? Or they'll come one time and then not come back. So in your parking analysis, do it. It also can look at your utility requirements. If you need an upgrade in the power or the water lines or the gas lines or any other utility that is brought and used in your ministry there, you better look at what's required to know whether or not you can do it. It's a part of your counting the cost. Luke 14:28-32. What man goeth to build a tower? What king goeth to war? And first count the cost, utility requirements. Prioritize needs analysis. Doing a feasibility study will show you if your priorities of ministry, 1, 2, 3, and 4, if it can be done, if it's possible to do them as you wish. Accessibility requirements. Getting handicapped people in and out of your building, in and out of their cars, in and out of the buildings and recreation areas and all the requirements that are there. Your financial capabilities. Just because you wish it and you're able to build it on your property doesn't mean that you can afford it. You may have to chop or pare down that next phase that you're planning to build because you can't afford it, or it's not wise to spend everything you can afford. Just because you can afford it doesn't mean you should spend all of that. Another thing is funding sources and options. It shows you what sources are there as you go through the research. There's no sense planning a building that you can't secure funds for. Feasibility studies also will help you develop cost estimates and budgeting. In your budgeting, if you're buying land, then you have 7 simple categories that you can divide your total project budget into: design, site, the structure, FF&E and extras, furniture, fixtures, equipment, and extras, pre-construction, which is your loan interest payment on your construction loan, permitting, some management fees, some other things that might be required to be done that's prior to your starting of breaking ground and starting the building process. And then contingencies. Contingencies are reserves for the unexpected, unexplained, and unforeseen expenditures that happen during building programs. You put 3 to 5%, maybe up to 10 or 15 for new and renovation. It depends on the complexity of your situation as to how much you set aside for contingencies. And the 7th category, if you're buying new land, that's going to cost you money. You've got to include that in your budgeting. So if you don't estimate the cost of your structure and your site work, you are going to perhaps go through a master plan and then construction drawings and spend 7, 8%, 9% to design fully developed, fully buildable plans with a site plan done by the civil engineer and architectural plans done, and then audiovisual lighting and acoustic engineers and interior designers, and you've done all this design work with a landscape architect, and come to find out that you didn't estimate the cost correctly. And so we tell you in our other webinars, how can you go about to help better steward this area that often is a heartache for ministries. But a feasibility study will help you figure out what you can afford, what you should spend, and to look at the total project budget for your master plan and for phase 1. Community studies. Demographic studies tell you the age and income and whether they own their own home, their education. It's basic information about your community, the people in it. And then psychographics tells you their philosophy of life or their lifestyle, how they view different issues. It tells you how they think. And then ecographics would tell you not only who's in your congregation, but what kind of people are attending church in your area. There are resources that you can purchase this information, but there is no substitute, or you won't be complete unless you put your boots on the ground and go touch the lives of the people there and take note of their demographic psychographics and who's attending church and what kind of church and so forth. You want to have a very developed community intelligence so that you know your community is well or better than the Chamber of Commerce, the Better Business Bureau, and the government research that has been done about those in your community. Then you're going to provide surveys. There are boundary surveys and topographical surveys that are done that would help you be able to give to the design team. They're going to ask you for these things. They're also going to ask you for as-builds, and that's blueprints and that were adjusted and adapted as the buildings were built, the existing buildings were built on your property, and the architect and design team is going to ask you for those so they can know what they're looking at if you're renovating or adding on to your existing facility. So how often do you do a master plan? Is it done every year, every 5 years, every 20 years? And the answer is, before you purchase a new site, a new piece of property, you should consider developing a preliminary master plan to determine the bandwidth of the property. Architects that I've worked with now for right at 30 years that served me as when I was a senior pastor in our ministry, and then as I worked with 2 different national church builders, worked with architects who would, for a fee, go through and help you determine the bandwidth and whether or not preliminarily, as you look at a piece of property, is there any reason why you can't fully develop your vision to a certain point for your ministry on this piece of ground. Before you go spend $300,000 or $1 million or $5 million on this piece of ground, you better spend a little bit of money just trying to figure out, is this piece of ground going to let us do? So in one of our webinars, we talked about securing the right property for your ministry, and we go through all these checklists where you and the industry professionals that are this piece of property you're considering, or properties you're considering, put them through a sieve to figure out which piece of property has the bandwidth, the possibility to let you fulfill your vision on it. Another time when you perform a master plan is not only when you look to buy a new piece of property. Certainly after you've bought it, you want to master plan it completely, every square inch of that property, showing the full development as the Lord tarries and gives you 30 more years, or whatever the years would be, to build out and fully develop that property. But if you're on a piece of ground, you've got facilities, and you're going to plan to build again, you go back, and before you build each time on your property, you go back through this exercise of master planning the property, because things change. In your ministry changes and grows up differently and ages differently than you might have thought. Also, the codes and the community you're in, it may change. And so what you master planned 5 or 10 years ago is probably, by rule of thumb, not going to be adequate for you to follow now. And so you revisit it and vet your prior master planning to make certain that it's still good for today. But you go back through the process again. And so what should be accomplished in a master plan? You're going to go through and spend $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, depending on the architect and his services, the area you're in, the size of your church as to what they're going to cost you. And you haven't talked about this, but I'll give you a basic definition. You can ask an architect to do a strategic master plan, which in my definition of that means they're not only going to show you the floor plan an elevation of the first phase, the next phase that you're building, the first phase, but they're also going to show you how future phases would blend together with this. So phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, they're going to show you the floor plan and elevation of that, and maybe even an artist rendering, and so that you can see how it would all work together. That is a whole lot more complicated than and time consuming and costly, usually, normally, than just putting phase 1 having the floor plan, but phase 2, 3, and 4 are just boxes showing the outside boundaries of the floor plan. They're not showing you details in it. So as you go through this, what should be accomplished? It should help you plan well and spend wisely. It should help you organize your ministries, coordinate your ministries, orchestrate them, marry your ministry design to your campus design. It should help you dictate the form of your campus, how it's designed, by following your function. It should help you plan well, spend your money wisely, coordinate, orchestrate, and organize your ministries so that you can properly marry together who you are and how you do ministry to your property, to your campus. And so it should help you dictate the form of the building, the design of the building, by following your function, how you do ministry there. So what will your architect need from you? Well, he's going to need recent surveys, a boundary survey, a topographical survey. Topographical survey, and we'll provide for you in another webinar a full description of the requirements of a topographical survey, but it shows you not only the boundaries of your property, but the location of all buildings, utilities, easements, a whole list of things, so that the architect and civil engineer can see what's going on. As-built plans. As-built is taking the buildings when they were designed and built on your property, your existing buildings. Your architect, if they had asked him, would have provided for the church any adjustments and plans to the original blueprints and shown the changes, so you could look at a set of plans as built and see exactly how the building was built. And it shows you the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural, and so forth. He is going to need you to explain your ministry design, your values, your mission, your vision, and your game plan of, your programming of how you're going to carry it out, your programming, attendance, and functions, how you function, and so forth. So he's going to ask you for these things and maybe some other things, but this gives you a head start in putting together the information that an architect needs to work with you, partner with you, to develop a master plan for your ministry. Now, a summary of the information I'm giving to you is the information the church provides is initial programming, explain your ministry design, share the long-term vision for your campus. There's a document I'll give you in another webinar that will deal with this. Total project budget, information the architect provides, land and code analysis, site plan, floor plan, elevations, presentation options, and documentation. He is doing this so that you can have a complete package to convince and win over your congregation, your community, local building authorities, local lenders, national lenders, and to do your capital campaign to raise money, and anyone else that you want to cast the vision for. The master plan exercise should produce documentation and representation so that you can cast vision for people to see and understand what God has in store for your ministry. I'm Marshall Shannon, your pre-construction navigator with ministry design training and ministry design concepts. Our office number and cell phone number are here for you, and our email address so that you can reach out to us if you need further help or you need us to give you individual navigation through your project. I trust the Lord will help you and bless you as you move ahead, and that this information has been a very helpful first step in your understanding ministry or master planning. There'll be other webinars, up to 2, that will go along with this one to provide you with tools, and then to help you with the performance of master planning, how you go about working with the architect and what that process looks like.